Welcome to Big Bad Beautiful Brains. I'm James. Since I was diagnosed at the age of 45 with autism and ADHD, I've been on a journey not only to discover how my brain works and how to look after myself, but also about other people's brains and how they look after theirs. I'll be speaking to people from all different backgrounds, all different ages, and all different experiences to understand how they think and how their big, bad, beautiful brains work. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Season 2 of Big, Bad, Beautiful Brains. I'm glad to have you back. This episode, I'm talking to Mike Keane. Had this chat with Mike towards the end of last year in my little cabin, and we had quite a wide-reaching conversation from Cormac McCarthy books to capitalism to evolution and human diet over the years. So I really hope that you enjoy the conversation. Mike is a chef with a deep fascination for our evolutionary relationship with food and a growing frustration with how quickly we've managed to get it all wrong. From March, Mike's embarking on an ambitious year-long dietary experiment. He'll be living through the three main diets humans have evolved over the past 2 million years: hunter-gatherer, agricultural and industrial, before finishing with a hybrid diet shaped by everything he's learnt along the way. It's a really bold project, a simple premise, and a genuinely fascinating way to think about health, evolution, and the food system we all live inside. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and here we go. Mike, hi, how are you?
Really well, thank you very much, yeah.
Good. It's we're recording this at a time of year where the temperature has caught everyone by surprise, and we're both wearing very suitable, very sensible jumpers.
It's very middle-aged, isn't it?
It's the time of year when the thick woolly jumpers come out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I suppose for you, I guess the kind of, with your travels and that sort of thing, the woolly jumpers are always to hand.
I've got a cupboard full of woolly jumpers and Gore-Tex and really horrible weather gear. So, yeah, I'm sorted out for that.
Prepared for any eventuality.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's ask you a few questions and see what comes out of your brain.
Yeah, let's go.
What's a song or sound that's been stuck in your head recently?
I don't often get songs that really stick, but I've had this one song actually for the last week. It's Mont Blanc by the Quiet Hollers. Don't know if you know it, but it's such a fantastic song. And I love a song that's got kind of a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's this guy wrote it when he moved to the backwards in Kentucky somewhere. And he'd been watching The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And it's a very nihilistic, post-apocalyptic, what would you do? And the words are brilliant, and the tune and melody is fantastic. I've just got it on repeat. You know, when you're a teenager and you just press play, and they get the same song. When I was a teenager, lift the needle and back to the same thing again. And I haven't done that for years, but on this song, it's really bitten me.
Is it a uplifting song? Because I think The Road and both the movie and the book are kind of some of the most depressing storytelling ever. And I think with the movie, I remember when it came out and people were kind of hoping for some sort of brevity or a little bit of a release at the end of happiness somewhere. Or some sort of spark. Does the song manage to kind of create that spark, or is it just as foreboding as the original influence?
It hasn't got a bad ending. It's just all the things that he wished he'd kind of knew. There's a line saying, "I saw all the warning signs in the TV and the Times," and and he wished he's something about the regrets for the books that he should have read, like all the prepping books and how to forage and all that kind of stuff that he never had time for. And then he's bemoaning the fact, well, not bemoaning, but he had a Mont Blanc pen, and he used to write for hours about nothing that makes any difference now, which I thought was a great line. And it's that kind of the luxury of a silver Mont Blanc pen means absolutely nothing when you boil it all down to just surviving. So it's it's pretty miserable, but the actual melody is quite uplifting, and the words just carry me away anyway. It's great.
Nice. I've not heard that, so I'm gonna dig that out after we've spoken and have a listen, and try and find a way to cheer me up from it as well. What's something you've been curious about lately?
Curious. Apart from the never-ending, search for funds for weird expeditions, anthropology. It's something that is obviously always there, but it's all my experiments into diet and um, and how we've come to the position we're in as a species at the moment. It all just, it all just comes back down to anthropology, and it's something we're not particularly taught in school. You're taught RE, but not anthropology, which to me is nuts. But the more you look into it and try to kind of fathom how long, several million years and billion years of evolution of where we got to today is it, and what a kind of tiny drop a current time is, and how kind of meaningless it is in the grand scheme. It's I find anthropology a really fascinating rabbit hole to go down, and it obviously covers everything about. For me, the main thing is the diet and how we've eaten for the last 2 million years when our brains started getting bigger, and how we've managed to balls it up so quickly in the last 60 or 70 years. Compare that to the 2 million years of living seasonally and eating raw or fermented and sometimes cooked food. It's amazing, and I love it. And every time I read a new book, it takes me on a different tangent, and it's a never-ending study, but it's something that makes me increasingly wonder what the hell we're doing in our education system, where that this is one aspect that we should all know about, and we just don't. We can't comprehend what 2 million years of existence is.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly numbers and scale can get away from you, and how big numbers become meaningless. Even to the point of, you try and explain something to someone in terms of scale of something, it can run away very quickly and become an unimaginable scale of what something can mean.
Yeah,
and I think to your point on how quickly it's diverted from 2 million years of kind of good eating and eating seasonally and that sort of thing. It's the commercialization of food, to a certain extent, of kind of profit over produce.
Yeah.
That has kind of skewed it so much, where instant gratification of things get in the way of mindful eating.
Yeah.
Mindfulness is a tricky word for me, because sometimes it can skew off into areas that aren't really beneficial to anybody.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But I think considerate eating and just wondering what I'm getting out of this pack and actually putting into my body, compared to it's easy and it's fast, so it must be fine.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Every kind of wrong turn, if you kind of track us back for the last several hundred years, when it kind of all started going wrong, every wrong turn has just been instigated by that search for constant profit and capitalism. If we didn't live in this kind of hyper capitalist state, and increasingly so at the moment, every bad decision or avenue we've gone down has just purely been for increasing profits and money. It all just comes back down to money, unfortunately. Yeah.
If you had to describe how your brain works in 3 words, what would they be and why?
3 words. Chaotic is definitely there, and rather kind of obtusely, I guess, a slightly very well organized at the same time. I think I make up for the chaotic. By chaotic, I mean, not that organized, leaving everything to the last minute, kind of procrastinating and just putting stuff that I don't want to do, to the back of the list. But then I think I make up for that with OCD type stuff, especially, for my chef background. I'm very well organized and compartmentalized when it comes to getting prepared. So I've got all my mise en place, all my stuff, in neat lines, and it's got to be at 90-degree angles, and I've got to do the kind of certain things at a certain time. Not to the extent where I've got to go back and check my front door handle 20 times or whatever like that. So I've got 2 there, haven't I? Chaotic. What was the other one? Chaotic, organized,
yep.
And childish. I think that in a good way. It's constantly astonishes me when I look at myself in the mirror, or I compare myself to other similar age people, and they always look really, really kind of old, and look, they're together and they've got it, and they've won at life, and they've got the nice car and they've got a nice house. And there's me who's still, almost living hand to mouth and not quite sure where the next money's going to come in from. So it just seems like I guess it's that kind of imposter syndrome where you're constantly comparing to other people. But the good side of that, which I really enjoy, is the humour of childlike humour, and just like behaving like a 9-year-old the whole time, which I love. Viz comics to me is fantastic. I've still got a subscription to Viz, which I started reading, I don't know, when I was 19, and I still double up laughing from some stupid little comment in Viz sometimes.
Viz is still for me one of the greatest literary publications of the 20th century.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The Profanosaurus, Roger Melly's Profanosaurus, is still makes me laugh far too much than I care to admit. But I think it is just, and I think I'm very similar, and I've always compared myself, like, always thinking when I grow up. And now I've just realised that I won't, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly happy being infinitely curious and fairly childish, because that's me, and I don't want to be anything else.
I think without that childish outlook, toilet humor and stuff, is just the best. But without that childish outlook, I think it goes hand in hand with curiosity. I think as soon as you lose that childishness, your curiosity goes out the window, and you're not Peter Pan or the Lost Boys anymore. You're the grown up,
Yeah, and I was talking to someone the other day who works in education, and I was saying that I find it a real problem that curiosity and play gets taken out of the education system fairly quickly. It's kind of more conformity than anything else. And that's where, for me, I think things start to go wrong, because you start to lose the wonder about stuff that you don't understand, and rather kind of take a kind of fearful look at things because you don't understand them. But I'm always kind of asking questions and trying to understand why things work, how things work. And I'm fascinated by why people want to lose that and don't kind of fight against, if that's being challenged and saying you can't do that, why people don't go, no, I want to do that. I find it interesting. That's how I learn.
Yeah, definitely. I guess school, just by its nature, has to have that structure. Which, again, is the antithesis of creativity and childishness and that kind of curiosity. The ideal school. If I had the chance to, for my kids again to go through an education system, it would be a homeschool type thing. But then, the whole capitalist system doesn't allow for that. It's very difficult for that, because you need one parent who's got the time and is not going to earn money to teach the kids, and just take them out to the woods, and just like whatever questions and whatever tangent they go with, that's what they're going to learn that day, which is what we've always done. It goes back to evolution again. We've done it for millions of years.
Yeah, and back to kind of missteps because of commercialization. Someone else was saying that the school system is still geared to industrialists and creating workers, not creating happy humans. Which again is, in hindsight, and you kind of look back at it and go, oh yeah, but there's no one there to kind of challenge it or ask or say, what are we trying to get out of the education system? Is it happy, educated humans, or is it skilled workers? And it's like, oh, well, I hope it would be the happy humans first, rather than the skilled workers.
Absolutely. This is a theme that keeps coming back in. I'm writing a book at the moment, which is out in a year or so. Well, I say writing a book. I'm thinking about writing a book. I've got a contract to write a book. I'll probably leave it till the last night again. But it's like when you're a kid, especially when we were kind of growing up, you didn't have limitless channels to watch. It was like three or four channels, and everyone watched the same kind of program after school. And you grow up watching BBC, and all your news, all your information about the world just came from that one or two media outlets. So it's totally controlled. And you think, oh, the government, the prime minister's got to be the most clever person on the planet, or in the country, and wow, isn't he great? What a great guy he must be. And then especially I think since the advent of social media, so in the last 10 years, 20 years really, you start to think, hang on a sec, they're all corrupt as you like. There's nothing great about it at all. Every decision they make is because they've been lobbied or they're in the pocket of some industrialist. It kind of shakes your whole world foundation in your worldview when you start to realize, hang on a sec, everything I was brought up to believe has had this shiny veneer of patriotism and capitalism kind of washed all over it, and it's a complete load of bollocks.
Yeah, and it's nothing new. It's just that it's the veneer has come off.
Yeah,
and whereas before the news cycle and the route of communications was fairly linear, and you would kind of digest it through certain news organizations, and it wouldn't be a fire hose of data. And I'm kind of completely against this kind of constant doom scrolling of information. I fall foul of it a lot anyway, but I think it's a case with modern politicians. The veneer has been taken off them, and they're probably more bombastic people because people are looking at celebrity rather than or charisma rather than skill set.
Yeah,
and they're also trying to kind of hold sand in their hands, and it's just slipping through their fingers because there's so many different networks, there's so many different channels of communication, there's people always videoing something.
Yeah,
that the ability to kind of hold that the honor of the office up is kind of impossible now.
Yeah,
the only thing that's changed is that it's always on and people can see it for what it is, which is kind of interesting in a way, but also terrifying in another way because it's always been there. It's just never been so raw and visible before.
Yeah, you kind of think politicians are like, they're all Mother Teresa type people, but I think it's, I don't know, 1 in 1,000 is maybe doing it because they actually give a monkeys about the public or possess any kind of shred of empathy. The other 999 are career politicians, and they can, whether they start out that way or it just happens as they kind of get offered all these great big tempting, backhanders and bonuses and seats on the board of big companies. It just seems to be, that they get swallowed up by this capitalist machine, and it just depends who pays the most money is whatever they're going to kind of push for in the next bunch of policies.
Completely. And I think Mari Black was one of the politicians that I always admired, and she'd kind of stand up in the House of Commons and gather, really command people's attention and really tell people how it is. And she got to a point in her career and she's like, this is impossible. I'm fighting against a massive tide here. I can't do anything. It's once you're part of that machine, you can go in with the best intentions possible, but you become a very small cog in a very big machine very quickly, and you can't do anything by that point.
Being a politician looks like you're not hiding to nothing as well, because whatever you do, again, this is one of the flip sides of social media. Whatever you do, you're going to get absolutely slagged off by, whatever percentage of the population hates you or hates what you stand for. So why would you do it if you're going to be exposed, or your family's going to be exposed to that kind of hatred or people just disliking you intensely for different policies?
Yeah, so it's a thankless role, I think, in kind of whatever route you decide to take in it. And I think perhaps people that do go into it for the right reasons might come out of it quite quickly, or end up in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
and I never want to touch politics with a 10-foot barge pole because it just looks soul destroying.
Yeah. I think in my more optimistic moments, I think, why shouldn't I go for a councillor or something like that? But then you through various businesses, you kind of get an idea of how kind of brain destroying it all is, and the regulations and the type of people it kind of attracts, and you swiftly go, oh, no, that's a really stupid idea, Mike. Don't do that.
Yeah, I'd rather be on the outside, kind of lobbying, causing trouble on the outside and trying to do something that makes change, rather than be on the inside and feel like I've had my hands tied behind my back.
Yeah, and it all comes down to that money thing again, then, doesn't it? About lobbying is a massive problem. Which, well, I doubt the politicians see it as a problem, but I think it's a huge problem for the state of pretty much every country in the world. Everything is dictated by money, whether it's obvious or not. It just always comes back down to, who's the greediest.
Yeah, and who's got the biggest pot of money to guide change?
Yeah.
What's something you're still figuring out?
Oh, yeah. Well, the obvious button on there is life, but I think I mentioned it before about having the house and the nice car, and that is still pretty much the kind of a measure or the yardstick of success is by how much shit you've got. and it is absolutely ridiculous that you have to live like that. I haven't worked as a chef for like, as in like 50, 60 hours a week chef for quite a few years now. I've been off doing different adventures and pop-ups and stuff like that, but recently, the last 2 weeks, I've been doing it. And you're stuck in traffic at 7 a.m, and you don't finish till 8 or 9 at night. And you think, Christ, is this what this is what we're kind of geared up to exist as until we retire, when we have the last twilight years of our lives to do whatever we want? Oh, thanks very much.
You
it's
lucky thing.
Absolutely not. Yeah, it's just such a crazy way of living, and it's one of those things that you get lost in that whole fog of capitalism and expectation when you're a kid, and what career do you want to have, and this is what you want to do, and this progress up the career ladder. But it's quite rare that you look beyond that kind of veil and think, actually, no, the whole thing is a complete load of bollocks. It's not how we've existed or evolved to exist over loads, millions of years. It seems crazy that just in the last few hundred years we've put ourselves in that tiny bubble of having to do that. It's just not what we're designed to do at all. But trying to get out of that means a complete change of the whole structure of civilization, basically. So it's a tricky one to get around.
Yeah, and there's a lot of unlearning to do, I think, around that, and from both kind of what the school system sets you up for, a working life, and kind of expectations of others and that sort of thing. And I spent a long time surrounding myself with people who were motivated by money, and it took me a long time to realize that I'm not. But I was kind of kidding myself for a long time that money was the most important thing.
Yeah.
And that sudden realization one day, I don't really care about money. I like solving problems, and I like conversation, and I like creating things.
Yeah.
The money's nice, but it's not the primary concern or even a secondary concern for what I want to do with my life. It's kind of, I want to do good things, and I want to do nice things, and I want to do good things with nice people.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. But for a long time, it's kind of the comparison to others, like you said earlier, that can get in the way of actually what you really want to do. And once you kind of shrug all of that sort of stuff off, it feels a lot freer.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the pressures or the expectations of anyone else.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing of kind of lifting the veil of kind of civilization, is you don't really realize that you're not particularly motivated. You're not particularly motivated by money until you're in a position of luxury where you don't have to work all the hours that God sends to put bread on the table and stuff like that. So, I think you're in the same position as me, where we've got enough money that we're in that kind of luxurious position to be able to look back at that and say, actually, I'm not motivated by money. It's not all about a great big paycheck coming in. So it's but that is one of the things that's inherently crap about capitalism, is you don't kind of reach that position where you can realize where you are until you've got enough money, until you've not that I've got enough money by any stretch, but I'm not having to worry about putting food on the table or a roof over my head, which a hell of a lot of people and more all the time are having to worry about that now. It's a weird place.
Yeah, I think it's and I'm kind of, I'm fully aware of the fortunate position I'm in to be able to have that realization, because I realize a lot of people don't have that. And it is a struggle to even kind of get beyond that realization that you have to do that. You have to keep doing that same thing. You have to be the hamster on the wheel.
Yeah.
I think where the turning point is that you don't need more.
Yeah.
You can get to a position where enough is good.
Yeah.
And again, that's still a very fortunate position to be in. And it's such a shame that that has to be a difficult position for people to reach, for a lot of people, that you can jump off that hamster wheel, or there is another way.
I wonder if it's as simple as that kind of fork in the road, where you get to that fork and you go, okay, do I continue and end up, someone like Musk, where it seems that it's just a constant need for more and more money, and more money than 1,000 people could spend in a lifetime. Why is all that in the hands of one person? So I think when you hit that fork, and if you take that right road to go, actually, money doesn't motivate me, I want to put some of it back, or I want to do some good stuff, then that's clearly good versus bad. Whereas and at what stage, what kind of, how big does your bank balance have to be before you can actually realize that? Or do you think that's what people like Musk do, and they go, oh, just another million, and then I'll be all right, and then I'll stop, and then I'll do something good, I'll set up a foundation or whatever. But it doesn't often seem to happen.
No, and it's the perfect point with Musk and the character that he was if someone can tell me how to solve world hunger, I'll pay to solve it. And I don't know if it was the WHO or someone else just went, here's the plan.
Yeah, it wasn't even that much money.
Radio silence. And it is, it was someone else I was talking to recently, and it's a similar sort of thing, is that homelessness can be solved. There's a solution to homelessness. But if homelessness remains, it keeps enough people scared of losing their homes to keep it in place, because it makes sure workers keep doing what they're doing. And it's an interesting concept around the kind of elements of society and how they're structured to keep the safety net, or lack thereof, in place.
Yeah, you've always got to have that boogeyman to scare the great unwashed, haven't you? So, it's a bit like the use of immigration now, it being kind of inflated to such a ridiculous degree, when it's not, in the grand scheme, it's nowhere near the problem that the right is making it out to be, and how it's become such a central pivotal subject is crazy, when there's much bigger problems to worry about, like taxing billionaires and making sure that the uber wealthy pay their rightful way.
Yeah, completely. And there is only a finite amount of money in the system. If you have to make more money, you get inflation or deflation. So Musk taking $1 trillion out of this system means that $1 trillion doesn't get distributed amongst people who need it. It's not suddenly $1 trillion that have been magicked out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's getting taken from something.
Yeah.
And put into one person's pocket. And it's just mind-blowing. Yeah, we're at that stage.
Yeah, well, one thing, sorry to interrupt, I forget, is I love that thing of like a million seconds is something like 11 days, a billion seconds is 32 years, and then 1 trillion seconds is 32,000 years. That's such a massive, staggering increase, from each of those levels. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying about how long we've been on the planet. The planet's 4.6 billion years old. We've been evolving since the first single cell, effectively 4 billion years ago. So, trying to fathom that amount of time is like trying to fathom having that much money, compared to, if you've got 10,000 in the bank, and how much more than that, £1 million, let alone a billion or a trillion it's just absolutely obscene that people can have that. It's just such a nuts system.
What's something about everyday life that's easy for you but hard for others, or the other way around?
That's a good question. And normally I wouldn't. I'd be a bit more self-effacing and humble. But cooking it for me, like just chopping up an onion or getting the timing right on a family dinner or something, is something that is second nature for me. Mostly, because I spent most of my life doing it. But then when people are watching me in the kitchen, and it's not just me, it's any chef pretty much. They're going, "Oh, how do you do that? And how do you get the timings right? How come the kitchen's so clean when you're cooking for a table of 12 or whatever?" And it's just something like, like you and guitars, or talented people on whatever their talent is something that people who haven't got that talent are constantly gobsmacked about, and it's incredible. So I think that for me, cooking for me is second nature. And it's something I enjoy, and I think the OCD part of my head enjoys the structure and the timings and kind of bringing it all together for that final moment when you're plating up or whatever, and you look back in the kitchen, the sink isn't like 12 foot high with dishes and rubbish everywhere, and it's complete carnage. It's actually quite calm and neat. I'll say cooking.
And on the flip side of that, is there anything that you find particularly difficult, and you look at other people and you go, how on earth are they doing that? That seems like wizardry.
Yeah, any kind of musician is I'm always in awe of. Anyone who can pick up a guitar and just knock out an amazing song. It's something that I wish I'd always done as a kid. I wish my parents had just kind of forced me to learn guitar when I was young. I've had a guitar for 20 years, but the F chord always gets me every time, and I kind of put it away and go, I'll pick it up again next week, and then it never happens. So any kind of musician, it just leaves me awestruck, really. If they're good, obviously, but there's a lot of good people out there, which
I won't play you an F chord because it's still hard. I've been playing for 30 something years, and the F is still a tricky one for me. And I guess a lot of it can come with practice and kind of repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. And some stuff is second nature, and it just kind of feels that you found your natural space, and it comes naturally anyway, and it doesn't feel like you need to over prepare or over rehearse. It just becomes a kind of simple process. And I think that's, for me, is I find a few things and I find those super rewarding. And it is just kind of protecting those spaces and making them your own, and then kind of finding ways to kind of enjoy them further as well.
It's I never had that kind of discipline, and perhaps there is a certain part of talent that you find it easier earlier on, but I never found it easy to do. But perhaps that's just me being undisciplined and giving up too early. When I really wish I really wish I'd spent some time doing it when I was younger. Or even now, there's nothing to stop me picking up the bloody guitar now and forcing myself to do it.
Yeah, and it's just, I always enjoy discovering new skills. And sometimes I went through a phase I really enjoyed making candles, and I found them kind of super therapeutic just to kind of get into a state where there was a process, and it was similar to cooking to a certain extent. There's an ingredient, and there's the method, and how you and just kind of getting into that state of being super focused on one thing. And I do need to get back into candle making because A, really enjoy it, and B, it's just a nice kind of meditative process. And it is sometimes those things that you discover that is kind of just, for me, it's like the dopamine hits and just kind of getting the rewards out of that. But there's some things that I find sometimes that you just kind of get into a state and you don't really think. I mean, candle making never really kind of, wasn't when I was a kid and going, I want to make candles when I grow up, but just kind of stumbled into the idea. And it is discovering those things. And then, like, my challenge to you is, if you can't find that with a guitar, is there another musical instrument you can find that with? Or is there a jumping on point for something that you kind of go, oh, that's it. That's the thing that's giving me the buzz to want to kind of learn more and get deeper into it.
Yeah.
And I don't think, that goes back to curiosity and play and having that mindset. I'm always looking for things that give me that. I'm never kind of satisfied that it's just going to be candles from now on.
Yeah.
There's always going to be something else that I can find it in. And that's the fun of it. It's just kind of discovering stuff and being open to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, if there was one skill that I'd take to my grave, wishing that I'd learned or was learning. I think it would always be guitar, though. It's like, music. I'm always listening to music, and I like all my favorite stuff is kind of the classic guitar singer-songwriter type stuff. Simon and Garfunkel, where they just do a real simple melody, but it can like lift your whole day, or it can make you cry, or it can just bring a certain memory back, and it's something that's really. It's more than just the music. It's your whole mood. It's the whole kind of the whole of your time in that place, and during that day. It's kind of hard to vocalize it, I suppose. But it's all the stuff that really gets me now. It can just be just a chord change or something in a song, and it's just, oh my God, that's awesome. A bit like the song I was saying earlier. It's like something about it. I can't put my finger on one certain bit, but it's the whole package of the words and the melody and where it changes up and down. I'm no musician, but it's it's the whole dynamism, I guess, of the song. But guitar. Get me back in a year's time, and I'll tell you how
I'll check in with you regularly and ask you how the F chord's going.
Yeah, brilliant.
And that's not a euphemism.
Yeah.
Have you found any approaches that make the world work better for you?
Yeah, failure, I think, is a really wonderful thing with hindsight. I've failed. Well, when you say failure, I think it means the general modern life definition of failure, like going bankrupt or losing a business or losing a marriage or something like that. I think failure is the only way that you can develop and become hopefully a better version of yourself. I think people who haven't had failure or haven't been exposed to failure, I don't think they're as well rounded as the rest of us. Failure, and you'll see that a lot on like TED Talks and stuff. And going, failure's the best thing you could have accomplished because it means that you get back to the grindstone, and then you try again. But I think that's very true, and I've failed in quite a few things in my life, and I wouldn't be where I am today. Which I'm probably the happiest I've ever been at the moment, without all those failures that have kind of brought me to where I am. But so a failure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and it's a constant source of frustration and hilarity for me is that I tend to buy two of things because I know I'm going to break the first one, because I tend to learn stuff by getting it wrong.
Yeah.
Whether that's kind of writing a piece of code or buying a new piece of music kit or the second candle wax melter I bought.
Yeah.
Because I'll kind of test things to destruction, and I'll probably skip over the instructions for stuff, or starting a business or coming up with an idea. And I think it's the fear of failure that can sometimes hold a lot of people back. But if you want to kind of progress and step out of your comfort zone, you got to be prepared to get it wrong. Getting it wrong can be, there's quite a scale of of failure, from very small to very large failure. But you need to kind of step out. You need to take those first steps. It's like learning to walk and stuff like that. You're gonna, probably going to fall on your face or.
Yeah, and I think it's a subject that needs to be taught more in school or accepted more in school. It's still like it was when we were kids. You get a test. If you score less than 20 out of 30, you failed. And everyone's brain is wired differently. Some of the most grounded, the best people in life will have failed at all those tests because that's not the way they're programmed to be. And it still creates a huge amount of stress in kids because they don't want to fail. They don't want to fail their GCSEs. They're told they won't get the job they that they want if they don't get whatever grade it is at university. I think failure's something that needs to be accepted a lot more. You see the stress in, you know, my wife's got two young girls, 10 and 12, and the 12-year-old is just starting to get onto that kind of hamster wheel of tests leading up to GCSEs and college and that kind of stuff, and the stress that they have about a test that they'll forget totally about in a few years' time is disproportionate by a long way.
I did a talk at a local school recently to business students,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I've seen quite so many ashen-faced teachers when I said, do what you love first, and if what you love makes money, great.
Yeah.
And they'd been spending a good few years kind of teaching them about, money first, profit margins, all that sort of thing.
Oh,
but it's
God,
kind of
yeah.
like, just find happiness.
Yeah.
If you can, if you can find happiness and it makes you money, awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm more of a happiness first
Yeah.
kind of guy these days. So it's like, but it is the fear of failure is kind of built into you quite early on in life.
Yeah. And it is something that needs to be accepted by kids and stuff, and not, don't come down on them a ton of bricks if they fail a test or they fail to do something the right way, because that's just part of growing up. And not that I advocate growing up to anyone. Keep it childish.
What's a small thing that always makes you smile?
Small thing that always makes me smile. It'd probably come back to music again, I think. A small thing like a certain change within the song, like a key change or whatever, and it's just, oh God, yeah, that's really good. And that's something that I'll listen to a song over and over again just for that one piece in a song. So yeah, that's probably what makes you smile. Another thing is neatness and like, organization is quite a big thing for me. If everything's lined up and everything's clean and in its place, I probably sound like I'm some kind of OCD freak, but I'm not. But I like it when everything's kind of neat, like your shelf there. You got the screwdrivers in the right position, and that little things like that make me happy.
I'm organized, but only in certain places. Like something like you point my shelves and that's pretty organized, bordering on serial killer levels of organization. But then there's also a laundry pile in the house that I really should get round to, and it's just kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of selectively organized, and it is usually in kind of work where things have to be in the right positions. And then when I'm not thinking about work, everything just kind of all goes free range, and kind of lives where it needs to.
Yeah, I think it's important to have, again, that's a good example of a slight failure within the whole system. Is I think if you haven't got that small imperfection or that flaw, then you're definitely on the serial killer level.
Yeah, if I find myself neatly organizing my laundry, then I'll start to worry.
Yeah, no way back.
If you had a free day with no plans, how would you spend it?
I would probably spend it outside. There's a whole bunch of jobs that I should be doing, like fixing the chicken house a bit better, making sure they've got enough shelter, putting the skirting boards up. I'd probably do something like that, actually. It'd be nice to say, I'd go out for a walk along the beach and have a hot chocolate somewhere, but I would probably get rid of one of those jobs that, those kind of jobs that are always there at the back of your mind that you haven't done for years, but you keep meaning to do. I think I'd probably get a few of those ticked off in my mind anyway. In reality, I'd probably spend half the day doom scrolling and go, oh crap, it's gone dark now. It's too late for it.
Chickens will have to wait. What's something that makes you lose track of time?
Apart from doom scrolling, doom scrolling is terrible. It's that I really have to kind of check myself on that. And I don't think I'm anywhere near as bad as the youngsters nowadays anyway. Lose track of time. It's a tricky. There's not many things that do that. I've got so many things on the go the whole time. If I kind of get bored with one thing, I can quite easily jump onto something else. So I don't often find myself, like 2 hours into a ridiculous job or hobby.
And do you, when you're
I don't know.
cooking, does that fly past and you kind of just get into a flow state and that you suddenly kind of it's closing time, or it's the end of the evening and you're suddenly kind of, you come up for air and
Cooking is never just like one or two jobs. If you've got a prep list, it's never just like 3 different jobs. It's always, you got those 3 done, but you could always do that and that and that. And then my wife Lucy has got a heritage seed company, so there's always loads of veg or trial veg that I've got to find different ways of trying to preserve, so we don't give it to the goats or the sheep or something like that. So there's always, I should make some sauerkraut from that, or I'll make some kefir or kombucha out of that. Yeah, or prep it and jar it and pressure can it or whatever. So yeah, I can just say I'm just going to make a cake in the kitchen, and then several hours later I'll have jars of sauerkraut and a whole bunch of stuff on the go. So yeah, cooking can lead me down those rabbit holes a bit.
What's the best advice you've ever been given?
I don't think I've never been personally given advice that has stuck with me. But I think it comes back to that failure thing. That's just kind of a really gradual realization, and you see it on different TED Talks, and God forbid if you spend too much time on LinkedIn, you'll get it rammed down your throat. But failure is learn from your failure, learn from your mistakes. Just every time you do balls up, it still hurts. It doesn't mean it hasn't got to hurt, and you feel embarrassed or ashamed by it. But you've got to get it in perspective and just think, oh yeah, I fucked up, but it doesn't really matter. Look what's going on in the world at the moment in comparison to all these people who, by the modern kind of parameters or whatever, that they're super successful. They're billionaires. But look what a crappy job they're doing of things. So I think learn from mistakes and don't just accept it and then let it go and move on and learn from it.
What's something you're excited to learn or try in the future, apart from an F chord?
Oh yeah, guitar definitely is something. Becoming a proper adventurer as well would be bloody brilliant, which I kind of fell into a couple of years ago on the kayak thing. I'd never really kayaked before, but I decided to do this big long kayak trip, and I've got a ski. I'm crossing the sea ice in Melville Bay in northern Greenland next May, skiing across it. I haven't skied for 30 years. I've had to get onto YouTube and find out what kit I need and all this kind of stuff. So it would be nice to get to a position where I feel fairly competent at any of these cool activities. But I don't mind. I don't mind too much learning and just, again, learning by my mistakes. But in that kind of situation, if you do make a mistake, it can be a bit more serious than, a mistake here in England. But it'd be nice to feel like I was kind of competent at doing some adventure-y type stuff.
And I mean, the adventures you've been on so far and the adventures that you're planning are all in fairly cold environments.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd want to do in a slightly warmer space?
Yeah. I've got this big project starting in March next year for 12 months, where I'm going through. There's been essentially three main human diets for the last 2 million years. So the hunter-gatherer, then agriculture, and then industrial, which we're in at the moment. And part of the hunter-gatherer, and for each one, it's a 3-month period, and I'm kind of deep diving into each diet with full medical tests. And part of the hunter-gatherer one, as well as this skiing thing across the ice in Greenland, I'm going to Namibia for 4 weeks to live in the Kalahari with the Bushmen. So it's the polar opposite of the Greenland diet. But essentially it's the same thing because it's hyper local, seasonal, raw or fermented, sometimes cooked food. There's not like a million different ingredients in each meal. And it's living within the environment. Yeah, and you're totally affected by the environment, the circadian rhythms, the air. You're not bombarded with crappy civilization type stuff the whole time. That's going to be hot out there in Namibia, which will be a great one.
What's the one thing you'd like listeners to take away from this conversation?
I think it only comes with age that you realise life is really bloody short. And looking back, I think I guess it's part of that whole wrapped up in that whole kind of failure thing where you're overly concerned with what people think of you or what that looks like. Just don't give a monkeys about it. As far as you can. I know it's easy to say it, but really don't. If you screw up or you make a fool of yourself or whatever, it's not the end of the world. We're here for such a tiny amount of time, and it's not about the money. It's about living it as best you can. Bearing in mind that you're not an individual. You're part of this fantastic, massive ecosystem that is the world, that is humankind, that is, the whole environment. You're part of that, and it's such a short, tiny amount of time, and it does fly past, kids. When you roll your eyes at the old people saying, "Oh, yeah, it flies past. It just seems like yesterday." It's really true. And in 50 years' time, if you're a teenager listening to this, you'll go, "Bloody hell, where did that go?" I shouldn't have been as hung up as I was on the whatever stupid thing it was you were hung up on. Just enjoy life and get it in perspective.
And last question: what's next for you?
Next is this big diet project next year. So we had this. I did this kayak adventure up the coast of Greenland, which got Nikolai Coster-Waldau, who's Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones, involved, which is a whole interesting bunch of coincidences. But that's been turned into a documentary that is being pitched to Netflix and History Channel in the next couple of weeks, which is really exciting. So if that kicks off, then this big project for next year will get filmed as well as a 6-part series. So hopefully that's next. And if not, then I'll still be doing the Greenland and the Namibia thing, just paying for it myself. So just trying to get sponsorship and work to get enough money to pay for it, basically. But yeah.
Thanks, Mike, and happy travels.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on.